Hello, welcome to Leftover Masters. I'm especially excited today. As always, I enjoy doing Thai food. We had a request actually from one of our fans, and by that I mean fan, Kyle. This is a shout out to you, buddy. This dish is for you. We're going to do a Thai curry dish. We have chicken in our fridge, and that's our leftovers, but I'm also going to include a beef recipe at the end. So if you wanted to do it with beef, there's a slight variation in that, but you should be able to do one or the other depending on what your leftovers are, right? So that's what dictates what you're cooking. So we're gonna head to the fridge here in a second, see what we can find for leftovers and try and put a dish together. We're gonna go ahead and get our rice going. This dish is so easy, but you want to get your rice going because it'll come together so quickly that ends up being the rate limiting step. So on our way to getting our ingredients, we're going to go ahead and start our rice, get the water going on that because that's going to take 20 minutes to cook once we put the rice in. Okay, as always, we're going to the refrigerator and see what we can find. And again, I did the preliminary scouting so we could put this episode together. We have some grilled chicken that's left over from a couple nights ago actually, so we want to get rid of that before it goes bad and see if we can make a meal out of it. I mentioned we're doing curry, so with that we're going to have some onions or green onions or scallions. Sometimes you'll see in the cookbooks. I got my green curry paste. I had some of this partially used, so this is in the refrigerator, but otherwise if it's unopened it can be stored in the pantry. So that's our green curry, and let's see, what else do I need? Oh, I think I'll use a little bit of basil, although the recipe doesn't call for that. I don't have much cilantro. So I'm going to grab my cilantro. And I was scouting that out the other day. It's actually, some of it's going sort of bad. So you might have noticed my dog. She's almost always here at supper time. But she also loves Thai food. Of course, we can't really depend on her judgment because she will also eat dead raccoon if she can find one. So this dish is going to be much better than dead raccoon. So one of the things we're doing is just getting our vegetables ready. I'm going to use some of this basil later. And again, some of that is maybe not so good. And the cilantro is the same. So I think we're going to try and salvage as much of this as we can. So I cleaned off some of the bad leaves from the cilantro. And so now I'm just going to get this ready, taking the stems off again. And I'm not a big fan of the stems. You could leave them on if you wanted to. I also took the stems out of the basil leaves. At the end, we're just going to mix all these together, so it doesn't matter too much, but right now I'm just de-stemming. So while I was doing this, I was going to just take a second to talk about the different curries that are out there. And if you go to the grocery store and try to find curry, there is no such thing as like a curry spice. A curry is a mixture of things. So there's different types of curry. There's red curry, there's green curry, and there's yellow curry. In Thailand, they use the different chilies to make up the different curries. So red curry obviously has red chilies in it. Green curry has green in it, and yellow curry has yellow chilies. But then the other thing that you'll see a lot of times is the yellow curry has turmeric. So I set that out so you can kind of see how the different curries get their different colors and different flavors. In general, red is hotter than yellow, is hotter than green. So the dish we're making today is actually a pretty mild curry dish. So it's kid friendly. Depending on how much curry you use with the red, that is something I would use more for the beef curry, and that also spices it up quite a bit. So I'm just going to finish doing our vegetable prep here and get our cilantro and basil all picked and ready to go. And then we'll start doing the onions after that. So just as a final step, again, we're going to mix all these together. So I'm just going to take and cut them up, mix them together, because that's going to go a little bit in to cook, but I'll use a little bit of it as a garnish as well. Once I've got that all chopped, I'll just set that aside. and use that later. All right, so we're going to get our scallions ready, also known as green onions. So the first thing we'll do is just cut the tips off of those, and then we'll just go ahead and slice those. You can do slicing however you want. I do diagonal. You could just do flush, doesn't matter. Diagonal maybe makes it look a little fancy, and that's about as fancy as I get. So with this, we're going to add these to our wok, and we can start those cooking. So I'll get my wok going. All right, so we've got our onions cooking, and if you were cooking with raw chicken, you can use raw chicken, obviously, if you're starting from fresh. This is leftover masters, so we're always reheating something. But if you were starting from fresh, obviously you would be cooking your chicken first because it would probably be raw. But the only thing is I'm going to add a little garlic to this. I love this stuff. It's so easy. And you could use a garlic press with an actual whole garlic clove, but I like doing it like this because it's easy, it's handy, you can keep it in the fridge for a long period of time. We're going to let that cook a little bit while we get our chicken ready. Okay, so we're back over at the cutting board, and again I've got our chicken all ready to go. So this is cooked the prior night, so we're just going to want this to be diced up into eating size pieces. So we're just going to take a minute to do that. And again, this is already cooked, so it will really only need to just warm up once we get it on the stove. And if you look at the title of our dish tonight, it's called Can-Do Chicken or Can-Do Curry. And so I titled it that because you can do this. Anybody can do this. This is a super easy dish. There's like 4 ingredients. So if you can't do this, you probably shouldn't be in the kitchen at all. Maybe just make toast or something like that. But this is really easy. And it looks great, which is the thing that I really like about it. It looks like you put tons of work into it. So once we do that, then we're going to go ahead and add our curry. And I always kind of eyeball this a little bit too, so I'll see what I have, and again, if I was using it for another meal, it may or may not be enough. So I'll let this fry to coat. While we're over here, let's just take a quick peek at our rice. Rice is getting good. In case you happen to notice, we have a pot full of eggs on our stove. Those eggs are not for this dish. It just happens to be close to Easter, so we're going to do some Easter egg dyeing. So that was coconut milk. Just added that. The recipe will call for 3/4 of a cup or whatever. Now again, I'm just kind of cooking by a little bit by the recipe, but a little bit by color. And this is green curry chicken, and it's looking a little bit like white curry chicken. So I'm going to add a little bit more of that green curry paste and try and give that dish a little bit more flavor. If you have too much coconut milk, it can end up just a little bit on the bland side. You want the curry to be the main flavor, and you want the coconut to just soften that a little bit. So we're going to add a little bit more of this. Make sure we get that good curry flavor. Mix that all in. And then if we let that cook down, let that come to a little bit of a reduction, it'll thicken a little bit. And really now we're just waiting to put that on rice. I'm just cooking that down, and I'm going to add about half of my cilantro and basil mixture. Get a little bit of those flavors cooked in. See how it's turning a nice, rich green color. And then we'll just let that smolder down. Like I said, that's it. It's basically done. We just have to assemble everything once the rice is done. I'm just going to put it in bowls for serving. Then we can take that to the table. So if we're going to take this to the dinner table, we can just assemble it like that. And then once you're there, put down our bed of rice. And this is just amazing. I always serve this over rice because a little bit of that extra juiciness, that extra flavor will just soak right into the rice. As opposed to noodles, sometimes it'll just sit on top. And then I save a little bit of my cilantro basil mixture for color. All right, there's dinner ready to go. This is a can't miss Thai dish. We're about 20 minutes to put this meal together. Super easy. Thanks again for joining us on Leftover Masters. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram if you're interested. I was going to mention a variation. I had chicken, so I was sort of committed to doing the green chicken curry, but this is a great beef dish as well. But the only thing I would comment on that is that I typically would use a red curry, and I did include a recipe for that at the end. Otherwise, it's got a lot of the same ingredients. Cooking, you know, if you had leftover steak or some round steak or something like that, it would be perfect for that dish. So I did include that recipe at the end for those of you looking for a nice beef curry dish. So thanks again for joining us today on Leftover Masters.